Theater is all about choices. What you share, what you hide, the same story, even the same lines can be delivered a million times. Those choices change everything. We get more of Loretta's backstory, as she was known as the best actress in the Midwest in high school, that according to her father, but also a visiting director from New York who would agree with that sentiment and end up getting Loretta pregnant. As we see, she makes a choice to give up her one and only son, who we know of at least, Dickie, to chase her dreams. Now, we already knew that Loretta's career never really took off, but every few years, the family that took Dickie in would give her these updates. Now, one of the updates showed that the couple, who couldn't get pregnant by the way, finally had their miracle baby, and it was Ben. So now, Loretta's son Dickie, who is no longer alone, now has a little brother. And we also learned that Loretta's secret book was indeed a way for keeping tabs on Dickie throughout the years, as she believed that she would never see her son again, but one day her chance to see him came true after it was announced that Ben would be joining Oliver's play, and this was her opportunity to see her son again. As these last few months for Loretta have been a dream for her, but it's time to tell her son the truth, as she believes there's still time to make things right. But, as we'll discuss in that shocking moment at the end of this episode, the question is Loretta telling the truth about killing Dickie's brother, Ben? Welcome back to my channel, MovieFiles. Elliot back with our weekly Only Murders in the Building discussions, and this time we are breaking down episode 8, which was titled Sitzprobe. As we get the return of one of my favorite detectives, we also learn that Oliver is in love, but it comes with a broken heart, and the big question at hand is, did Loretta actually kill Ben? We'll be discussing that and much more in today's spoiler breakdown, but first, let me know what you all thought of the episode. What were your favorite moments, least favorite moments? Did you enjoy the return of Detective Williams? And is it me, or was this without a doubt the best episode of the season so far? Let me know your thoughts on that, as well as any theories, predictions, deeper meanings, and clues that you all took away from this 8th episode. Let's have some discussions in the comments below. We got a murder to solve. Full spoilers ahead. As everyone prepares for their rehearsals, Loretta wants to talk to Dickie later and is excited to do so, but it is time to fight through any mistakes during this rehearsal. No distractions, as Mabel walks in and Oliver just completely throws the distractions out of the window because he wants to talk to her. Now, I want you all to remember the word of this episode. It is extremely important to remember, and that word is distraction. Now, clearly Oliver and Charles are upset with Mabel that she didn't record with them, as we learn that Mabel has been living with Theo during this time and her boyfriend is out doing a commercial shoot, but he lent her a GoPro for her to use in her investigation. As Mabel tells Oliver and Charles that her main suspect right now is Dickie, which Oliver approves of this because no one from his cast, as we see that there's still tension between Oliver and Mabel, but Charles is trying his best to amend this friendship and get the trio working together again. As word gets out and the text messages start to appear on everyone's phone that Greg has been released, but I have a quick question. I'm no specialist when it comes to crimes or anything of that nature, but wouldn't he still be locked up for kidnapping and attempting to kill Charles and Mabel? I guess maybe they said there was no hard feelings, but I would assume that the man would still be locked up for what he did. But the real question I have is, when all those messages were coming up on everyone's phone, but then the show decided to give us Cliff's phone and it showed a message from someone by the name of Kelsey. Now, we see that the message says that that creepy guy didn't kill Ben. Who is this character? Why did their name have to show up on Cliff's phone? Why didn't he get like an article like Charles did? I wonder if that's just a throwaway thing, if it's nothing to be looked into, or if that is a character we should be keeping an eye out for with only 2 episodes left. But in comes my favorite character, who, if I'm being honest, has been sorely missed this season, and it is the one and only Detective Williams, played by the incredible Divine Joy Rudolph. Now, I am a big fan of hers. I assume that the reason she's been absent this season is because she was making HBO's The Idol, and she's also doing some movies that are coming out later this year, but her charm, her charisma, her comedic timing, her personality, everything about this character has been missed for me, and her being in this episode just made it 10 times better. As Detective Williams was prepared to take everyone into questioning, but Oliver convinces her to conduct all her interrogations at the actual theater. But she does confirm that Ben was poisoned opening night and someone covered it up. More on that later. We see Donna pulls Oliver aside because she doesn't approve of Oliver allowing the critic Maxine to attend this rehearsal, which isn't normal, but Oliver wants to show that he's got something special and that his musical can sing. But two things I want to point out here. Number one, there's a line mentioned by Cliff saying that he has nightmares about Maxine. And then number two is Donna has mentioned in this scene, as well as throughout this season, that she has lost so much money in trying to keep this production going. I have something I want to share with you all a little bit later about Miss Donna, so stay tuned for that. We see our crew has to find a way to get into these interrogations, and we find out that Charles and Oliver do make that happen, and we'll discuss that here in a bit. But meanwhile, Howard has found something huge that can help the case. Now, I pointed this out last week that shredding machine may have some type of evidence, and that's exactly what Howard wants to show Mabel. That night when he heard something, he realized that was the shredder that was being turned on, and someone must have been using it and hiding something without anyone noticing. Now, Howard tells Mabel that he's a master at putting words together, and he is determined to see what the big secret is that was hidden in that shredder. Now, as we'll later find out, that Charles was intentionally trying to distract Detective Williams when she was conducting her interrogations, and I normally get like a good smile. I get like a chuckle from this show. Like, I find the show to be funny, but I never have like laugh out loud moments with this show until this scene here. I haven't laughed so hard with the show in such a long time. It's the scene where we see Charles doing the absolute most to stay in the interrogation room with Detective Williams while she's trying to get him out, and she does this later in the episode with Oliver. This is a perfect example of why we miss Detective Williams. She's such a good character to kind of bounce off of, and she just has such great comedic timing. Let me know if I was the only one that was laughing so hard during this scene, and honestly throughout all of her moments throughout this episode. As I digress, we see Loretta confronts Oliver about taking her book, as Oliver's trust is now in question. He tells her that he doesn't think that she's the killer. Then he mentions that Mabel's working theory right now is that her son Dickie is the one that they think killed Ben. And then you immediately see that look of concern of a mother thinking, how can she protect her son, as we know that is a key line from the original play, but also a very key moment within this very episode. As Loretta wants to help her out, as she says, she wants to learn, more importantly, why Dickie is on top of her suspect list. We see Loretta's trying to distract Mabel with throwing out names like Bobo and KT and mention how the rest of this cast is very weird. It doesn't really work because we know Mabel's a good detective. Meanwhile, Charles time to rehearse his song, and we see William takes the bait and gets distracted. As Charles performs the song with such excellence, to everyone's surprise, we see Oliver sneaks off to plant that GoPro in Williams' interrogation room. See the police walking over to Dickie and wanting to talk to him a little bit later. You see Loretta again, that look of concern as she's trying to, you can see the wheels turning in her head how to figure out a way to protect her son. Howard and Mabel don't have any luck at first putting the pieces of the puzzle together, but we see that Mabel ends up finding an empty box of rat poison and gives Howard this motivation speech to convince him that he can do this, he can put the puzzle together, as he manages to find a date, and this is their way to finding out who may or may not be hiding something, but also this is Howard's way to maybe find a guest spot on their podcast. As Oliver and Charles fill Mabel in on their plan that they have been doing, which was distract Detective Williams throughout this episode, they got all the major interrogations on tape, and for the first time, hopefully it's a permanent thing now, the trio is making their podcast again, and they have to get back to solving this murder. Now, remember the key word of this episode, and I've been saying it throughout this breakdown. I believe we just got the biggest clue from our killer in this following scene. Now, the scene shows Loretta going to the bathroom to collect her thoughts. Meanwhile, Donna's in the bathroom with her, and I don't think I'm mistaken by thinking that she was thrown up in the toilet, as she claims that the nerves have gotten the best of her, which I find to be very interesting. Why is she so nervous? Let's talk about that. She goes to tell Loretta about how she's taken a big swing with this show and how she's been trying to save it, doing it all for her son, Cliff. Now, initially, you can take her telling Loretta how mothers can't help but to look after their child and it never stops as a way of, like, Loretta, the character, taking this moment to realize, man, I have to do whatever it takes to protect my son and make sure that he doesn't be called the killer for killing his brother. But to me, this goes all the way back to the biggest hint about the plot of the original play, and that was a mother would be willing to do anything to protect her son, even if that means to kill someone to protect her son. This moment, to me, I'm 99% sure that Donna has something to do with Ben's murder to protect her son. But the question at hand is, Why? We'll be talking about that here in a second. Let's wrap up the episode as Maxine tells Oliver that she's been very impressed by what she's seen so far because it's Oliver. It's his vision. It's him. It's the true version of him, which puts a big smile on Oliver's face. But it's important to note, last time we saw Maxine, what happened to Oliver? His heart gave out. I don't think it's coincidence that she's there yet again. As Dickie has a moment with Loretta and tells her that on the night that he found out that Ben had initially died, he felt free, but he realized that he was trapped this whole time and he just was happy for a brief moment, but then obviously he found out his brother was back only to die again. But the key thing that he says is he couldn't take it anymore because he felt trapped with his brother. As Dickie hugs her and tells her that this has been the best part of his last few months, him saying that to me is almost too on the nose, like it's a distraction for us as the audience to think that Dickie might have had something to do with it, and we'll share my suspect list a little bit later, but I thought that was a little too on the nose at the moment. But Oliver, he has some words for Loretta as well, and he doesn't only just trust her, but he also loves her. This is a big moment for Oliver. Again, we have to remember, this isn't just him falling in love in 2 weeks. They've been working together closely for over a year, so he tells her how much he loves her. As she takes the stage, the police proceed to take Dickie in as Charles and Mabel manage to sneak into Loretta's belongings, and they read the letter and they know her secret. As Loretta stops her performance and makes a confession, she tells everyone in the theater that she was the one that killed Ben. She poisoned his shake, and when it didn't work, she pushed him and killed him. As they take her in, we see Oliver's watching all this happening after just telling her that he loved her. He can't wait to spend more time with her as she's getting arrested. It happens again. Oliver's heart gives out. He falls on the floor, and like I said last week, maybe this will be the moment that will bring the trio back on the same page. Wow, I mean, come on. Pulling at the heartstrings at the end of this episode, the funny moments with Detective Williams. This, to me, was by far my favorite episode of this season so far. But now let's get to the fun, juicy theory parts, which is sharing my updated suspect list. So now Dickie's saying that he was happy to learn that his brother died, only for him to come back to life, to only die again. That, to me, just looked to be a little bit too easy of him being a killer. But again, he's still on my suspect list. Loretta's confession at the end of the episode, to me, was just like improvised. Like, she had to figure out a way to make sure her son is not the killer. I still think that she might have something to do with it, but right now, again, she's still on the list. But now I want to focus on two key suspects. Now, after the first episode and later in the season, I had mentioned the producers, Donna and Cliff, and you can watch those previous videos to see my reasons why they were initially on my suspect list, but they haven't been in the show as much, so I haven't really been thinking about them as much until this very episode. So let's put the spotlight on Donna, who, after this episode, it just seems as clear as day that she not only might have killed Ben, but at least at the bare minimum, she had something to do with it. Because look, we all know she's willing, as she says many times throughout this episode and throughout this season, she's willing to do anything to protect her son, who she inappropriately kisses every now and then, and God knows what else they do behind the scenes, but protecting Cliff, even if it means killing the star of his very first big show. Now the question is, why would she do that? Well, I think it's Maxine. I think Maxine is the reason, because if you all remember, this was going to destroy the show by having her review, which was gonna not be a glowing review about Ben's performance. And I believe Donna not only got word of this, but she might have gotten a hold of Maxine's actual review, and she got rid of it with using that shredder. And maybe when Ben fell on stage, everyone, what's the word of the day? Distracted. Everyone was distracted. She took that review, got rid of it, and proceeded to poison Ben, and we find out that it didn't work, obviously. But again, her thought process was, I kill the lead of the show for we can continue to go on, and we'll just recast him for this show can continue to have success for my son. Okay, so pulling it back a minute here, maybe she didn't kill Ben, which brings me to her son Cliff. As Loretta said, poison is more of a woman's method. Again, going back to Donna being the one that poisoned Ben, but it failed at doing so. And now that leaves Cliff's to taking matters to his own hand and finishing the job that his mom started. Or maybe, as we know what he did with Matthew Broderick, maybe he called in a favor and had someone do it for him. So let me know what you all think about the producers. Again, that scene in the bathroom didn't seem so pivotal. It just seemed like that was Donna confessing that she would do anything to protect her son, in doing so, killing the lead of the show. Let me know your thoughts on that. But again, something still feels off to me, because I don't want to give up my theory that there are 3 people involved, right? So right now we have Cliff, we have Donna, but who is that third person? I'm still kind of curious on that. Share your suspect list in the comments now. This most likely doesn't mean anything, but I am curious though, the director that got Loretta pregnant. Now we know that director was from New York. I don't know if he is still alive. I wonder if they're going to play a part into this show. Well, again, we only got 2 episodes left. Let me know if you all would like to see that director. But also, speaking of characters that may or may not pop up again, do you all think that we'll see Joy again for the rest of the season? What about the actual parents of Ben and Dickie? Are they still alive? Will they make an appearance? Will they share some more revelations? Is there that twin triplet brother sister still out there? And last thing I want to mention is, I think not next week, it has to be in the finale. We're going to eventually see the point of view of Ben throughout that whole day, right? From whoever wrote, you're an effing pig on his mirror, to him getting into that fight with Loretta, to him coming back from the dead, to only dying again. I'm pretty confident that we're going to actually see like the day in the life of Ben before he actually died. So again, if it's not next week, I definitely feel like it will be in the finale. But again, to give you my general take on this episode, I thought it was fantastic. I thought comedy really worked. It was heartfelt, and it's not that the comedy doesn't work in the show. It's not that I don't have, heartfelt moments. I just feel like everything about what I love about the show was like highlighted perfectly in this episode. I don't think it's a coincidence that it happened to have Detective Williams in it, who again I really missed in this season. I hope we get 1 more, maybe 2 more moments from her in this season. She's fantastic. But hey, that's my thoughts, my theories, my predictions on what we can hope to see in these final 2 episodes. But it's your turn to share yours in the comment section. Again, what worked, what didn't work, favorite moment, least favorite moment. Were you happy to see Detective Williams? Do you want to see them again? What do you all think about Loretta telling everyone she killed Ben? I don't buy it. I don't buy Dickie saying he had enough, leading to him and distracting us to think that he killed his brother. Right now, I'm looking at those producers. But again, share your theories in the comments below. Thank you for watching today's breakdown. If you're still here, put in the comments right now, #distraction as the keyword of today's breakdown. Again, thank you so much for supporting today's video. Before we wrap things up, consider hitting that subscribe button, helping me get to my next milestone of 60,000 subscribers. Make sure to check out my other reviews and other breakdowns for the show. Check out my most recent breakdown, and I'll catch you all on the next video.